Hey everyone, this is Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
And I'm Hitori. See?
And you're watching episode 106 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.
106? That's 6 past 100. Happy 100th episode, Devin!
Yeah, we made it!
Yeah, we made it! Yeah!
What are we talking about today, Victoria?
We are reviewing two melons? Yeah. Okay, so we're reviewing the two middle episodes of album 61, which are, let me think, Old Tricks and The Key Suspect.
Correct.
Yeah, I did it.
Very good. Episodes 803 and 804. So yeah, this is the middle review for album 61, Without A Hitch. So...
Morrey.
Yeah.
Morrey and Buck.
And Buck.
Morrey and Buck. Buck and Morrey.
Great combination, or great, side by side, separate but
I
equal
want them to fight each other. Buck would win.
But
like BVZ, BVS, but it would be better.
That could be where this is leading, right? Because Matthew and Emily lately have been getting a lot of help from Buck, because Buck's the one who actually knows all the mind tricks and cons.
Morrey. Yes,
Buck
calling it now.
Buck will be the dark horse to help them take down Morrey.
Album 62 predictions. First one.
Almost.
First one is Buck's gonna fight Morrey.
Yeah.
I want Buck to punch Morrey in his smug little face.
So...
Smug little Sherlockian face.
That's what we're talking about today. And we'll turn you over to all those past recordings right now. And here we are to talk about episode 803, Old Tricks, written by Nathan Hubler. What happens in this episode, Victoria?
I just want to take this moment again to apologize about my mean predictions, because this episode is everything I've ever wanted. I listened to it like 6 times in a row. No, I mean from the album. I didn't get very good predictions overall. I was like, this album's gonna suck other than the wedding, because Wellington will be at the wedding. So it's funny because right before I listened to this episode, just want to say this before I forget, I was like, we haven't had a Buck episode in a while. We need another Buck episode. I listened to Old Tricks and I was like, yes. I wasn't listening to you telling me about those though, because I didn't want to be spoiled.
All right. So this episode is 100% domestic Meltzner family.
No, it's the best because there's only like 5 characters in this episode, and they are the 3 Meltzners, Eugene, Katrina, and Buck, and the best friend, so Connie, the Meltzner family. Connie's part of the Meltzner family. Fight me on this. And then that one guy whose name I can't remember.
The Professor Man.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, whatever his name was.
Professor Man.
Yeah.
That's it. And so in this episode, Eugene hasn't been spending a lot of time with Buck and Katrina because he's been so busy at the college, and he's talking about how he wants to spend more quality time with Buck, but at the same time he's like, hey, I've been offered a position as a full-time teacher, because right now I'm only a part-time teacher at the college.
Yeah, an assistant professorship.
Yeah. And then Buck's like, oh my gosh, that's great, can I help you? And Eugene's like, no. And Buck's like, oh, okay. And then Eugene What?
I was being Buck.
Oh, okay. It's a shame. And then Katrina's like, be nice to your son. And so then Eugene tries to spend some time with Buck. It doesn't really work out. And then Eugene blames Buck because of that. But he doesn't say it to his face. Connie makes a phone call to the Meltzners. This part was so painful to listen to. She doesn't hang up. Eugene comes into the building, and he rants about Buck to her. Buck goes home.
And here's on the
answering machine. Eugene ranting about him. And he turns off the machine right before Eugene says, I shouldn't be so hard on Buck. I actually really love him. And it was my fault. And I'm just being angry because I'm grumpy today. And so then Buck's like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to help Eugene. And so
do it the me way.
He sabotages the other person who's in line to apply
murders the other professor
for Eugene's position. He steals his phone and he cancels the meeting. He forges a letter so the guy doesn't think he has to go to his meeting. So Eugene gets the job by default. And then Eugene finds out what happened. And then he tells Buck that Eugene would have gotten offered the position either way. But Eugene declines it, gives it to the other guy because he's like, it would be the wrong thing to do to take it.
But also,
Buck, we love you no matter what, because you're a baby boy. Now give me a hug.
And I want to spend more time with you.
And then it ends with the Meltzner's all having a movie night and eating popcorn, and I love them so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so...
Oh, this episode is everything I wanted.
It's all Meltzner, all domestic. It's like, wow, Eugene did not take a long time to inherit that absentee father shtick from Leonard.
You spelled another so wrong. Okay, this is how Devin spent. This is how Devin spelled the word.
I was excited,
another.
Okay? I was excited.
He wrote ANTOEHR is how you spell another.
I was excited.
To Devin.
Yeah, because another fishing trip. They're gonna do another fishing trip. I can't believe, honestly, I was shocked that after all the comments that we made, they actually did get acknowledgement and details about the fishing trip occurring.
And apparently Eugene didn't like the fishing trip. We didn't know that. We were led to believe that they had fun.
I'm sad that we didn't get Eugene surprise trouncing Buck with his ice fishing skills.
Yeah, After
all those amazing predictions
was like,
and headcanons
I hate ice fishing, and I'm like... You are the best at ice fishing!
Well, to be fair, the previous trip was not ice fishing, it was regular fishing. But... Well, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like Victoria said, Eugene is really moving up in the world.
But Eugene offered to go ice fishing, probably just so he could own Buck.
Exactly, yeah.
He's like, I'll show him this time. And then Buck's like, nah, how about we don't do that? And Eugene's like, darn it! How about we have a movie night?
This is just like when I tried to...
And Eugene's like, but I get to choose the movie.
This is just like when Eugene's trying to give Buck the lemonade. Yeah. And he's like, come on, let's go on an ice fishing trip. Drink the lemonade!
I'll dispose of this toothpick for you. I re-listened to that scene and I was like, dang, this boy is like thirsty for Buck to be thirsty. Like, seriously.
So yeah, Eugene talks about how he's possibly moving up from being an adjunct professor to an assistant professor, and he explains all that. I thought it was funny when he mentions tenure, and Buck's like, what's tenure? And I'm like, we can't, guys, we've already done this explanation.
And when Eugene said, what's tenure? I was like, well, now we need to drop everything and do a 3-part episode explaining what tenure is.
We now need Eugene to kidnap a blind girl so that he can try and steal some
honestly think that's why Eugene didn't go into explain it.
Same.
Was because Katrina was like held at gunpoint and stuff, and it was just bad memories all around. So he's like, I don't want to talk about it because it'll make me upset. It'll make my wife upset. Buck, I just don't want to talk about it.
It really goes to show how far Eugene has moved up in the world to think that in album 23, like, he was in the reverse position where someone else was trying to steal his paper for tenure, and now he's the one who's up for tenure.
I was laughing really hard because I was like, oh, get wrecked, Doctor, what's your face? Eugene's gonna get tenure before you ever do because you're in jail! And I was laughing really hard about that.
So
I was like, that's what you get for kidnapping blind girls! Stealing papers. Bless you. Bless you again. Bless you third time. Oh.
Looks like I want to help, and Eugene's like, no. I will take none of your stuff. And then Katrina chews him out thoroughly. And
to defend Eugene in this part, he was like, he also kind of uses this defense. Katrina's like, why didn't you let him help you clean things and, like, give you assistance? And Eugene's like, I thought that's the opposite of what we wanted to do. And she's like, not in this situation. And he was like, how am I supposed to know the specific situations when I'm supposed to accept
It is true, and I'm glad that they did call back to that.
Yeah,
the
me
fact
too.
that Buck is, like, trying to earn their love.
I didn't notice that until the second time
with stuff, so I was glad that they mentioned that.
Same.
I was surprised when Eugene's like, we haven't hung out since the fishing trip, and I was like, nonsense. You had that hiking trip you mentioned in When One Door Opens, unless that episode hasn't happened yet chronologically.
I don't think it's happened yet.
It should have, but I guess maybe it didn't then.
Probably hasn't.
So Buck goes to Connie for advice about what to do, and I was like, Connie, no.
And Connie's like, dude.
Connie, no.
Connie's
Don't make him clean the lab without understanding what he needs to do.
Connie's like, okay, for some... Just to tell you guys what happens, basically, Buck goes into, okay, so we kind of have to explain what happens with the rocket thing.
Do we? I mean, we assume that everyone has
yeah.
listened to the episode. We're just helping to remind people.
So Buck goes to Woods End, and he talks to Connie because Eugene's MIA. And so then he's like, Connie, what should I do to, like, help out Eugene? And she's like, you should help out Eugene and clean his lab without telling him. And I'm like, Connie, no.
Yeah,
don't do that.
You were like that.
Yeah, I
work in an organic residue lab.
I was thinking, like, maybe do a couple things. And she's like, clean his lab. And I was like, that might not be the best thing. Maybe go for some other things. Maybe he can clean the lab if it's just, like, moving a pile of papers. But I didn't think about working with chemicals. Working with chemicals is not good if you don't know what you're doing.
As someone who works in a lab, I was like, I like Connie giving advice on family matters.
No, what face you're making?
And Eugene matters.
You have to put this GIF in here. You're welcome. Wirt in Over the Gravity Falls when he's like, when Sarah's like gonna see the mixtape.
Yeah. As I'm like, he's totally going to try and clean the lab without proper instruction. He is going to blow up the college. He could put down a bottle of DCM near a Bunsen burner, or he could put some concentrated HCl near concentrated NH4OH, and then the solvent cabinet is going to catch fire, or he's going to leave a methane tap on, and just a billion things, and then boom.
So basically you think he's going to blow up Campbell College?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what I thought was going to happen. Yeah, also, on the topic of the bottle rockets and Eugene getting locked in the closet, it was, potassium nitrate, I think?
I can't remember.
I believe so. That he went to the college to grab some more of it, and I was like, I'm rather curious about why Eugene was planning on using college resources to launch recreational bottle rockets. That seems like a much larger breach of protocol than not having your ID visible.
I mean, he was probably just going to take a little bit, and... No, hear me out. He had some at his house. He forgot it at his house. He was probably just gonna, like, fill up theirs with whatever he was
You can't mix lot numbers, Victoria. You can't mix lot numbers.
I don't know science. I thought we established that.
Yeah, I knew that there was going to be some way that Buck would overhear Eugene blaming him. Like, maybe he left Wits End, and then Eugene comes and complains, and then it's like,
I didn't realize that was
Buck's
going to happen, and I was so brokenhearted. I was really worried that Buck thought they were going to, like, take him back to a different house, and I was worried Buck was going to cry, but Buck was just like, oh, I was listening to the wrong thing. Sorry, Miss Katrina, I already deleted it. And I was like, why do you still call her Miss Katrina?
I thought he was
going to be
Mom. I thought he was going to be in Wits End. He was going to be like, oh, sorry, I was just tying my shoe behind the counter for the last 5 minutes, and I overheard you.
Sorry, I was just stuck in the back of the cashier with that missing money.
With that missing $100. Yeah, and then Eugene they try to figure out how to get Buck out, and Eugene electrifies the cash register.
Oh, no.
He must have been a joy. He must have been a joy to have around as a child. What I thought was going to happen when there's like, the phone call, is that Eugene was going to realize, like, oh no, the message, Katrina, and he was going to try and rush home before Buck. But then they'd both arrive at the same time, and you have to, like, awkwardly come up with excuses to, like, block the phone and delete that one message without even listening to it first, and Buck can't figure out why. This was much worse.
The wrong message that he deleted.
This was much worse because Eugene didn't even know that Buck heard him.
Yeah. Oh, my baby.
And so Buck's like, I know how to take care of this. I'm like,
I thought Buck was, like, 17 years old. You led me to believe he was, like, 17. He's 14.
Since when?
I thought you said he was once, because right after Green Ring Conspiracy, I was like, maybe Eugene and Katrina will adopt Buck, because that was a popular theory at the time, and you're like, Buck's too old to be adopted. He's like, 19!
I didn't say he was too old, I said he would be old enough that he would very soon, like, age out of the system.
Whatever. Yeah, he's 14, and I was like, I thought he was older than that.
regardless of age, he is very good at doing voices, I have to say, and really good with lying on the spot, which we knew that part.
I love his, like, just normal voice. I love how he, like, clears his throat and he's like, time to go. And I was like, did you do this all the time when you were working with Mr.
It was
Skin?
really weird hearing his voice like that.
It was, because, like, Buck's voice is the actor's actual voice.
Robbie Bruce is
from
Texas.
We got to hear Buck's, like, as Texas is in America.
It is, yeah.
His non-Southern accent. And it sounded it was, like, really, really deep. It
was surreal.
Weird. I was like, this is weird to listen to. He did a good job, but it was just, like...
It was like, I can't believe this is him.
Uncanny Valley. I don't know. I wouldn't have recognized that as being Buck.
I would not have realized it.
He hadn't... If it obviously wasn't him, because he, like, cleared his voice and he's like, I'm this person now.
Yeah. As he was doing it, I was like, oh, no, Eugene is going to have to forfeit the position. That's exactly what's going to happen, and that is exactly what did happen.
Before I forget, I have to stop doing this, but I accidentally saw the description, because I was listening to it on the OAC on my iPod, so it's just, like, right there. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of hard not to see. But, I saw, like, Eugene, these are the words I saw, Eugene, Buck, sabotage, position at college, and I thought what was going to happen was Buck was going to be upset that Eugene wasn't spending enough time with him from the first, like, minute of the episode, so he was going to try and get him fired. And then, I thought, after the phone call, I was like, Buck's going to sabotage Eugene and try and get the job for the other guy for revenge, to get revenge on Eugene for, like, chewing him out. But then he did the exact opposite of that, because he's a cinnamon roll, and he sabotages the other guy so Eugene will get the job. And
but then he ended up being a cinnamon roll.
Yeah, he should be cinnamon roll finesse, because he stole the guy's phone. I didn't realize he'd stolen the guy's phone. Devin did.
I figured the first time around when he bumped into him, I'm like, okay, he's clearly pickpocketing him.
Yeah, when you listen to the episode, I didn't notice it until I listened to it. I think my third or fourth time. I've listened to this episode so many times. You can actually hear the moment when he pickpockets him, which the sound design in this episode was really, really good.
Yeah, so I'm really proud of Eugene, how he was like, I forfeited it because it was the right thing, but also because I want to spend more time with you. It's very like a lamb's tale.
Yeah, I really loved Buck, how, like, Buck and Connie's relationship, how they're just kind of, like, buddies now, because he's like, you're my dad's best friend, so we're friends, you're like my aunt, and I'm just like, this family is killing me. But, I just really love, like, did Connie talk to you? And he was like, that's not important. Connie talked to you! And I was like, you've learned, Buck.
Snitches get stitches, Connie.
You've learned what Eugene and Katrina learned a long time ago when they found, like, Connie in their bushes with binoculars, like, spying on what kind of furniture they have. In album 44, don't trust Connie with your secrets, because she'll tell everyone, because she can't keep secrets.
Yeah, or talk to Trent Dwight. After album 48, too.
So.
Vladimir.
Dimitri.
So, yeah, like you said earlier, they're like, hey, let's go ice fishing this time. And I was like, aha! Now Eugene is luring Buck into the real trap. Who's fishing for who now?
And then Buck was, like, on to him. So
and
he's
Buck's like,
let's
that's
not
okay. And I was like, foiled again. Eugene's never going to get the chance to prove his ice fishing prowess to Buck.
Buck's not going to believe him if he says he's really good at it. That's
Buck is going to... They're going to go ice fishing, and even though Eugene's going to be amazing at it, Buck is still going to catch old Grundy just by chance before Eugene does.
Yeah, and Eugene's going to be like, I'll show him. And Buck's like, look at what I caught. I think I'm going to have to throw him back because he's so mangled and has so many hooks in him. And Eugene's like, wah!
Calcium deficiency.
Eugene, your eyes twitching.
So yeah, this episode was exactly 100% the kind of domestic Meltzner family stuff.
I love that Buck calls Eugene, but I'd rather if he called him Dad. He still calls Katrina Miss Katrina, though. I wish he'd call her Katrina.
In the final scene, they're cleaning the other guy's lab together.
And it was so
And
sweet.
obviously,
it was really sweet.
Because I'm me, I can't not make a comment about how I'm curious why someone who is ostensibly a biology professor is cleaning his glassware with both distilled and deionized water, which sounds a lot more like inorganics to me. Otherwise, that is an enormous amount of money and time for excessive distilling and reverse osmosis deionizing water, which is very expensive.
Are you done?
Yes.
Did Nathan write this?
Yes.
Go complain to Nathan then.
I will. I will send him a strongly worded Facebook
No,
message.
you won't.
I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? He probably asked his brother for advice on writing that part, given that we now know his brother is a mechanical engineer. I got through that word.
Mechanical engineer.
Yeah. So that would explain why it's approximately close to what should have been, but clearly someone who knows about science but doesn't know about biology
so you were
labs.
Close, but you failed completely. How dare you write the best episode in this album so far, you monster.
So it would make sense then if he asked his brother, who's in mech eng but not a biologist or a chemist or an organic
Devin,
chemist.
You're like, I should be his brother instead of his actual
He could have asked me. Could have asked me.
He could have asked me to be his brother.
I could have been in the triangle. Could have had my name in way before, Devin Jameson.
Are you done?
Yeah. Final thoughts, Victoria.
This episode was so good. It has the fam and the best friend. What more could you want?
Wellington?
Yeah, if Wellington's just in the episode for
and
no
Buck goes
reason.
to him in advice. And he's like, what should I do? And Wellington's just like, disown your entire family.
Buck's like, but I don't have any money to disown them. They would disown me. And Wellington's like, disown them and take that money before they can do it to you.
Darling.
Take this spinny chair. Burn their house down and they'll give you the last dollar that remains. Oh, the spinny chair and the dollar.
Sadness. I still can't believe they actually brought it up on the show. Amazingness.
I called that.
I know, and then they did. It was incredible.
Can we both agree I call way more than you?
Yeah, Victoria. I mean, I think you ask that question every single episode.
I know, it's because I like it being confirmed.
So, overall, this episode was excellent. We pine after, just calm and lovely slice of life domestic Meltzner shenanigans with Buck and Eugene and Katrina. And that's what we
Connie.
got. We also got, advancement of Eugene's career further and further, and actually got, a nice precise kind of finding out where exactly he is, what kind of professor is he right now, and kind of where he is in that promotional ladder, which is nice to get a feeler for.
Mm-hmm.
Just more of the fact they're reinforcing, the Buck is still on this idea, oh, I need to do things to earn their love, and they're like, no, you don't need to, because we love you regardless, and we're still, incorporating
and they're like, but there's one thing you can never do
incorporating
to lose
grace
our
and
love.
spiritual stuff into it, that's
Aww.
slowly having an effect on Buck.
So, I think it's been a little while since we've had a episode where someone goes into the imagination station, they become a Christian. I think it should be Buck.
I knew that's what
and
you were
I think
say.
I'm gonna cry when it happens. Except for we always never see that character again once it happens. So
What about Eugene?
I like to think that they could never do with Everett and Leonard, to Buck what they did with Everett and Leonard. They can't brush Buck off at this point. Unless they age him up 10
What, you
years
mean,
in
hand
one
up?
episode. What's hand up?
So, final rating on this episode for sure.
Anyway, I like to think that Buck has to stick around for at least a really long time. They might be able to, after a long time passes, be able to say oh, he's going to college. But the thing is, college isn't Odyssey.
You're trapped here forever.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine Eugene teaching Buck science?
No.
I can't either.
So,
I
yeah.
really want to learn what happened to Buck's parents still.
I'm sure we'll get it eventually. Maybe when Mr. Skink comes back.
That's what I was wondering, actually.
There'd be no better time for Buck backstory.
Buck backstory. Do you think Mr. Skint
Buck story
is coming back because we're getting backstory and he doesn't actually show up?
No, I think he will come back present day.
Okay. I want backstory for you, Buck.
Buck story. Jay
isn't here to make puns in episode titles, so we need to resort to Buck.
Jay.
You go back a bunch of albums to the Buck starts here, and you're like, why is Buck not in this episode?
It's like, yeah, the Buck starts here would be the descriptor of album 53.
Bring Jay back.
He was the best character. What's your final rating on this episode, Victoria? I ponder with curiosity and bated breath.
5 stars. I think I listed my reasons why. What about you? There's a right answer and many wrong answers.
There are many wrong answers. I'm gonna give it...
Choose wisely, Devin.
I'm gonna give it 4.6.
That was the wrong answer.
Because I feel like...
It better not be for the biology reasons.
No.
Okay, good.
I feel like...
There's always room for improvement.
No. The lesson, like, the story was great, but the lesson was, like, pretty normal and cliche. Like, normally when I give an episode 5 stars, it's for, like, phenomenal, like, storytelling and plot and stuff, but also, like, for a really deep and interesting novel theme as well. And this one was pretty, like, you know...
Substandard.
Don't do dumb sabotage. Be good. Kind of stuff.
I know, but this is more a character building episode, which isn't a good excuse at all. No. I just really like this episode. You're making me feel bad for giving it 5 stars.
I mean, the story itself was great in terms of, like, the stuff that we got with characters.
My baby.
But, yeah, I feel like in terms of the lesson, like, it could have been something a lot more novelly interesting in terms of how it affects the listener, and not just how it affects the characters. Yeah. Or a character. But, yeah.
You're ruining this episode for me.
I'm sorry.
That's
why we review
things. This is amazing.
So, yeah, that's old Tricks.
This episode didn't have anything to do with Bernard's family.
It didn't. No. The episode title, in case you didn't figure it out, is, you know, Buck is an old dog and you can't teach him new tricks. He will go back to his ways of confounding and canoodling people.
I'm really glad they
didn't just have him
story in a domestic episode and not like an arc or something like that. I'm glad the consequences were small and low scale instead of like something really big, because it could have been a lot worse. And this was like
Buck smashing a cell phone with important documentation on it that has like train car numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad, like, of all the things that could have happened to show his old tricks, it was this. What about you?
I would agree. If he had done something this stupid and something that had much more far-reaching consequences, that would have been a much more painful thing to listen to. And
I was against Mr. Skink coming back, because I was like, I don't want him to be around Buck. But after this episode, I think Mr. Skink should come back. I think Buck can handle it. What about you?
I think so.
Yeah. So, he's come a long way, my little baby boy.
Now let's talk about the key suspect. About certain characters that we called things about. And the wheels that are set in motion for the future in really exciting, confusing, and terrifying ways. Both of us. Both of us. So we'll turn you over to that right now. And here we are now talking about episode 804, The Key Suspect.
Do you know what the end of this episode did to me, Devin? It blew my mind.
Written by Bob Hoose.
Did you see that coming?
Written by Bob Hoose.
Devin, did you?
Yeah. So, how can I not at this point? What happens in this episode, Victoria?
In this episode...
You know what blew my mind?
The end of this episode blew my mind.
After the episode, I think it was like 2 days later when I thought about the title, and I was like, the key suspect. Because it's the key, the master key, the suspect for who has the key to the lockers, the key suspect. So, what happens in this episode, Victoria? Oh, I'll do Grimo for Victoria. Well, you see, what happens in this episode is, there's a mystery when the Jones and the Parkers, all the lockers are open one morning. So, who's the buffook who's opening all the lockers?
Carry on.
Okay.
No, carry on. I want to hear where this goes.
Way back where I'm from in the Jaya, Emily and Matthew, they're trying to figure out who's opening the lockers because nobody's stealing anything from the lockers. And so the principal's like, yeah, go and try and see who's the no-good buffook who's opening all the lockers. And so, you know, as the family, the sister of the Morrey character, this no-good buffook who's showing up from out of town. Morrey's sister shows up and she's all, oh, I love you guys. I'm gonna kiss your tush and see all you're so amazing with the detectives and stuff. And so they're trying to figure it out who's got the key, who ain't got the key. Maybe it ain't a key, who knows? And they're like, oh, maybe it's Dion. Maybe it's Suzu, maybe it's Morrey, I don't know, and then in the end, they're like, oh, we accuse Suzu, turns out she was investigating it, turns out it was Dion, he gets in trouble, in the end, turns out it was Morrey. Who would have guessed it except for us? Because we're from the Gyro, we got the know-hows. And that's what happens.
You were
Thank you,
supposed
Victoria.
to say that in the language of the gyre, which is like clicking noises.
I forgot. I'm sorry. It's been a couple
You
weeks.
failed.
It's been a couple weeks. Okay,
Say
I
thing.
didn't watch them all last night. So
You failed. That episode didn't even come out 2 weeks ago. You failure.
So yeah, I'm like, I wonder who the obvious suspect could be at the beginning of this. Surely it couldn't be,
Dion.
I can't remember if this comment was about Dion or about Suzu or about Morrey, because all of them, I'm like, feel like they're being set up for it.
Okay, I thought this was gonna be a lot like the case of the baseball cap hero, where it was like, oh, they're throwing us a curveball. It's actually gonna be Suzu, but then it's actually gonna be Suzu, and they're going to focus on Dion. And then they ended up focusing on Suzu, so I was like, oh, it's going to be Dion, because...
I figured it was Suzu and Morrey working together.
And then at the end, it was like, it's Dion, and I was like, this doesn't line up. And then they explained it, and then it kind of, like, finished. And I was like, okay, I feel like there's something we're missing here. And I was at work when I was listening to this, and then I was just like, okay, there's something up with Morrey. We need to talk about this. And then...
Because we already said something was going to be up with Morrey.
Yeah, we already said that. I predicted that there was something up with Morrey. We predicted that there was something up with Morrey. Also, the second Suzu appeared, I was like, that's Morrey's sister.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Victoria spoiled for me there would be a new character, and so she shows up.
Say who.
No, but you said there would be a new character. It doesn't say much to say
there's a new character.
Yeah, but still some.
I could have been talking about the professor man in old Tricks.
Yeah, of course. So she's a new student from Japan. I'm like, I guess she's Morrey's sister.
I think she's voiced by the wife in Boat People.
Really? I believe she is the daughter, I believe, in the Dropbox who wins the student election.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
I've only listened to the Dropbox one, so I can't really remember what happened.
So, yeah, I'm like, given that we figured Morrey's sister had to show up, and he also just moved here from overseas.
My sister! Bye!
Yeah, and he also came from overseas, and also his name could ostensibly be Japanese. We said Morrey is a Japanese name. And so I'm like, okay, I guess this makes sense. This is most likely his sister. So Emily, being the president, did actually get mentioned. Again, will it become relevant? Who knows? Who knows? Remains to be seen.
I think you hit the nail on the proverbial head when you said Morrey's gonna like use.
I think so, and I think this episode proved it, which I didn't even realize until I thought back through things the second time. But we'll get there. So Matthew has a crush on Suzu. I love how he comes up to meet her with Emily, and he's suddenly trying to distance himself romantically from Emily because she's like, "Oh yeah, we're partners," and he's like, "I mean, not partners. Get wrecked, Emily." It reminds me of a post I saw the other day, and was talking about how when Jesus asked Peter if he loved him, and Peter says, "I love you, Lord," and that how in the Greek, Peter asked if Peter agaped him, and Peter's like, "I philos you," and so it's basically like Jesus is like, "Peter, do you love me unconditionally?" And Peter's like, "I love you like a friend." So. Yeah, I thought it was funny, given that I'm pretty sure Suzu is the same actress as the daughter who won that election. Mm-hmm. I was like, maybe she'll overthrow Emily. They're talking about how Morrey, even though it's the wrong country, they're talking about how Morrey's like, oh yeah, he helped win all these elections as a manager. Yeah. And now it's like, oh hey, I'm his sister. I'm the girl who won this election in South Korea.
Man, I don't know about you, but this is my favorite Jones and Parker mystery that they've done so far.
I think Case the Bugcap Hero is still my favorite, but this one's pretty close.
This one's my favorite because they didn't solve the case.
Yeah. This is the first time it's really it's actually important. That's a good point.
I've actually been hoping for this to happen for a long time, but I didn't know if they would actually do it or not.
That's a good point.
But then they did, and I was like, yes, I'm so happy that this is a thing. And, what was I gonna say? I flipped out when Morrey showed up, and he had, that one line, and he's like, sorry, I'm gushing. And I was like, oh, maybe, what?
That's exactly what I'm gonna talk about.
Well,
that
anyway,
specific line.
He's like, sorry, I know I'm gushing. And I was thinking, maybe he is nice. I'm like, I could have been wrong about Morrey. He could just be a sweet cinnamon roll. And at the end, during the ending scene, I was like, there's another scene. I was like, it's gonna be that Morrey. It's gonna be that little demon spawn. And I was just sitting, rocking back and forth in my seat, hoping my coworker couldn't see me flipping out.
So Morrey shows up, and I'm like, okay, so he reappears. This must be his sister then.
I thought he was just gonna have a little part at the beginning.
The plot thickens. I'm like, now, I will admit that in this scene, Morrey seemed perfectly normal and quite nice. We probably read way more than we needed to into it in the election than we should have, because one, we're trying to be funny, because entertainment is a thing we occasionally try to do here. But two, I thought back to the point that we landed on with Morrey at the end of Parker for President, which was that if he intentionally got Emily elected, it's because he probably thought he could manipulate her, especially through her biggest character flaw, which is her pride. Cut back to this scene, and he is, by his own admission, gushing over her and Matthew and how much he admires them and is playing entirely to her pride. And he isn't just doing that, but he makes a comment specifically pointing out the fact that he is admiring her so much with his gushing comment, which fits exactly into what we were saying in Parker for President.
What you were saying. Yeah.
Mr. Redicop gets even more mileage. I do like that we've gotten enough school admin related episodes in this generation of characters.
Yeah,
they're actually building a reliable list of the staff. They talked about Mrs. Mays again as well and her filing system, and I'm like,
yeah, and they talked about the janitor again, who
Mr. Redicop. That's what I just said.
Oh, yeah, and the principal was in this.
Principal Vogler's in it again.
Many episodes.
In a few.
I've said a billion times in the past month, I've been re-listening to episodes. So in the episode with Barrett,
which one?
Repent After Me? Is that the Barrett episode? That one, it mentions the principal, it mentions the janitor, and then in The Lost Riddle is when Miss Mays is first mentioned, which Devin and I reviewed, but we reviewed it with Austin and Tasha.
For the blogcast,
so you would have to go listen to our review with them. And that was also, the principal's mentioned in that one too. So. And also maybe the janitor, I can't remember.
Mr. Redicop just appeared in, 2 episodes ago too, I believe, in Parker for President.
Oh yeah, he did.
Or at least he was mentioned. Which begs even bigger questions about the mysterious absence of one Miss Rhonda Adelaide.
Dead. Maybe dead.
Okay. So, here's the thing. Okay, so...
Okay. Is this a thing you've been,
yes,
teasing
this
me?
Is the thing. So, I had this...
So, just some background. about a week ago, Devin's like, I have this crazy theory about Morrey for when we review the episode. Oh my gosh, holy crap, you gotta hear it. It's gonna blow your mind. And so then, I had to. And didn't see it that time. And
As
so
it was happening.
He's been teasing me for the past couple days, and I've been like, we gotta review the episode because you won't stop teasing me about it. And so then, carry on.
Okay, so
I want to hear this.
I was like, oh my gosh, okay.
Better be worth the build-up.
I was like, I just figured it out. This has to be Morrey now, because Emily says that...
You better not say he's Blackguard's son or something like that, or I will strangle you.
Julie Whittaker's brother-in-law.
You better not.
Emily says, nothing's taken out of the lockers. It doesn't look like anyone's been stealing from them. She's like, maybe it's more about sending a message that it could be done. Which, after all the jokes we've been making, sounds like I'm making a reference to the Joker, but I'm not. I'm like, who else does this sound like, where they're committing crimes to try and lure in a crime-solving person, not because they want to do something bad?
Israelites?
No, I'm talking about media in general. Someone who's like, I'm going to commit these crimes. Someone who's going to commit these crimes just to brag, just to show that I can, because they kind of want to get caught in a flirtatious kind of dance.
He's the Joker!
Someone else besides the Joker.
Okay.
Someone who wants to lure in a detective, because like, it's about sending him... It's like, this person is a match for my intellect, and I need them to solve this case. It sounds very much like James Moriarty. And I'm like, I thought about how Suzu's the obvious suspect, because Morrie's talking about how she's really smart.
So you're saying they're creating a Moriarty to Emily's Sherlock.
Suzu is the obvious suspect, given that Morrie's talking about how she's really smart, she's good with this sort of thing, maybe they're working together. And I realized that Morrie's name... We've been talking about how We've been talking about how Morrey is a Japanese name, and that's why Morrey is short for Moriarty.
Oh my gosh!
And that's the reaction I wanted.
Oh, you're right. I can't dispute that. Because
she's talking about, she's like, they're not trying to steal anything. It's like they're just trying to prove that it can be done. They're just bragging about their crime abilities. They're leaving us clues. They're leaving us clues because they want us to solve the case. They want to be caught. They want to brag about how smart they are. I'm like, this sounds like Moriarty. And then I'm like, his name is a reference to Moriarty.
I can't believe
it. Absolutely, there's no way I'm wrong about that.
I think you're right. You're right.
So I'm like, okay, obviously now we know who did it. I still thought it was Morrie and Suzu working together.
I don't know what's more surprising me, the key suspect or Moriarty.
Yeah, it took me until 2 days after I listened to it, all of a sudden I was like, the key suspect. Keys. The master key that Suzu made.
It took me until my second listen through to fully understand everything. I was kind of confused the first time.
It wasn't until the final scene with Suzu and Morrie that I finally was like...
You almost say Moriarty.
Yeah.
Can we just start calling him Moriarty?
It wasn't until that final scene between them where she's like, I still don't get it. And I was like, oh, she wasn't in on it. Because the whole way up until that point, I still thought that they were doing it together.
I started thinking they were... Like, I didn't think they... I was wondering, because I was thinking Morrie... I thought... They could be together, but it could be that Morrie was just creating mysteries for her to solve just to make her more popular than Emily. Mm-hmm. And just to, like, make people like her and stuff.
Oh, man, when I figured that out, I was like, I want to tell Victoria so badly, but I need to wait to get a reaction on camera. But I was like, there's a very small chance she figured this out.
I didn't.
So, like...
I figured it out as you were saying it.
Yeah, I knew you would. That's why I was scrolling slowly, because I'm like, as I'm explaining this, I know it's going to dawn on you partway through.
You're like, don't look at it. I kept on seeing Adelaide, and I was thinking, like, I'm on to you about Miss Adelaide.
I like how Emily is like, the lockers at school opening might be our biggest case. Yeah, I'm like...
I was like, girl, you just worked with the police last week.
Well, no, I'm like, you remember you helped stop a multi-million-dollar counterfeiting plot of financial terrorism, right?
I was thinking, like, this is so stupid that they're calling it, Aram!
No.
Anyway, I was thinking it was really stupid that they were calling it their biggest case yet, But I didn't agree until the end of the episode when they actually didn't solve it. And I was like, oh, this is nice. The last two Jones and Parker mysteries have been very, very good.
Yeah.
I've really liked them.
So, because I assumed it was Suzu and Morrie.
Susie.
I combined their names.
4Kids version.
Suzu and Morrie together, I'm like, is that too obvious then? Because if someone's leaving haikus behind as clues, like, that's pretty on the nose. But I'm like,
and
maybe
they had to like say what haikus were, and I was like, I hope the audience knows.
I was like,
are.
it seems pretty on the nose, but maybe they'll assume some listeners don't know that haikus are Japanese. But I'm like, this is the hard part of metagaming mysteries for a kids show.
Yeah. But I think they did, like, a good way of explaining it.
Yeah.
Kind of, like, in a way that, like, yes, I know what this is, everyone knows
but also
what this
just
is.
yeah.
But also to, like, tell people who don't know
I did appreciate
and
that.
I was like, okay, I'm glad you guys did that.
Because I was glad, because I'm like, I figured that Matthew and Emily should know what a haiku is, so how are they going to explain it for people who don't know without making it sound like they don't know? So
yeah, because I was also thinking, like, people their age will probably know, because they would have to do them in school.
Yeah. So I was thinking
like,
thing.
What if they have to, like, explain it to sort of folklore or something like that?
Oh,
it would have been, like, the Malted Milk Ball mystery where they're, like, where everyone in the room's like, yeah, we know all this. And Emily's like, no, I'm explaining, shut up.
It would have been like the Search for Wit where they have to explain to a bunch of grown adults what an acronym is.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been like.
Yeah.
You take the first letter.
Haiku? Well, it's a poem for starters.
Every time, 5 times in the Search for Wit, where they're like, you take the first letter of each word, and everyone's like,
blows their mind.
So still, I was like, definitely.
I think the worst instance next to acronym was probably in The Lost Riddle when they were explaining how like lemon water works.
I feel like an acronym's still worse.
Yeah,
they're like, have you ever heard of an acronym? And they're like, no, what is that?
How do you do invisible ink? And they're like, well, you use lemon water. And they're like, lemon water? And I'm like, have none of you seen the masterpiece that is National Treasure with Nicolas freaking Cage, the actor of a generation?
Anyways, back to this
of a millennium.
So, stylistically, I'm like, the way these clues are being left, this is 100% Moriarty. This is what's going on. I'm like, they still haven't realized that Suzu and Morrie are siblings.
They haven't?
At this point, they hadn't. By the end of the episode, they finally did.
Oh, right, because they, like, yeah, and then they're like,
he's
Morrie, your adopted brother. And she's like, I'm adopted. No, what it was like? It was like that one RT short where with Pongo and the girl that Joel's dating, and he's just like, you're a freak adopted child, and she's like, I'm the one who's adopted.
I feel like this is a little bit different because one of them isn't a puppet.
I know, but still. Well,
one of them is a
puppet. She's Morrie's puppet. Moriarty's puppet.
The puppet master pulling on his strings.
So, yeah.
She's like a marionette. So, yeah, I was like, I guess the alternative idea is that Suzu and Morrie are trying to solve the mystery as well, which feels a lot less likely character-wise, but sadly more likely plot-wise, given that the alternative would mean that Matthew and Emily were already on the right track with 8 entire minutes left in the episode.
I'm really glad
but there was more of a twist to come.
Predicted that Morrie would be completely evil.
I know. I can't believe we got that right.
It was just like, he was so unsettling, though, in the way they ended it. It was a lot like Mr. Charles for me, like Mr. Charles' first appearance.
At the end of Breaking Point?
At the end of Breaking Point, and I'm like, this character, there's something up. He's creepy.
You think? They called him Mr. X.
No, so. I was talking about Morrie.
Oh. Okay.
Mr. Octopus.
So yeah, since I assume Suzu and Morrie were working together when there was 8 minutes left in the episode, and they're like, it must be Suzu. I'm like, they can't be on the right track still with this much time left. Yeah, so does that mean I'm wrong then?
That's the moment when I started thinking,
which is another instance of I wish we didn't metagame on these kinds of things, but it's kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah, this was the part where I was like, okay,
maybe it's Dion.
Yeah, Dion hasn't shown up in a while. He only had like 2 lines in the episode by this point. He talked to the janitor, and he had that line at the beginning. And I also like the scene at the end when he's like, it was very Jay-ish. I have a feeling that if Dion wasn't here, they would have used Jay for this episode. He's like, I'm just gonna leave. And he's like, no, you're not. And he's like, I'll just sit.
That was very Jay.
It was. I was thinking of something. So I was thinking of something I can't remember.
Wait till it comes back.
Yeah.
So, when Emily asked questions about the keys earlier to Principal Vogler, and they completely dropped the line of questioning about the keys, just forgot about it after he's like, oh, locksmiths are prohibited from copying a master key of that type. I thought that I personally would have still considered the idea someone could have cut their own key. They could have had a friend or relative cut the key under the table. It seems that I ended up being right, sort of, given that Suzu apparently cut her own keys from blanks at home, which is nuts.
Well, Suzu's cool. I'm looking forward to her being in more episodes. I like her.
And then at first it's like, oh, the episode's just going to leave it here? Because this definitely is not finished.
It was like such an ambiguous ending, and they're like, let's make it more ambiguous, shall we? Blow their minds. Imagine a world in which Emily and Matthew can't solve mysteries.
The world's greatest detective, huh?
And Morrie's like, I don't want to kill you.
Yeah. Here's the plan. We kill the president of the class.
We kill the principal.
So
Matthew runs over and Morrie has Senzu Suzu, and then Matthew's like, let her go, and Morrie's like, poor choice of words, and he shoves her out a window.
Out the open window?
But it's like that big drop, and she's like, Morrie, I'm gonna have a talk with our parents.
Anyways. So they're like, yeah, Dion, lock him away behind bars. It was basically the same thing as when they're like, oh yeah, Vance and his dad were totally responsible for this. I'm like, okay, This definitely isn't finished. I was like...
Except for, the thing is, this was a lot better than the thing with Vance and his dad, because that's actually where the episode ended, and there weren't any plot twists.
Yeah, so the episode... So we finally come to the last scene, and I'm like, so this really, this is going to continue in the future.
Yeah.
Because this is all setting it up.
I'm so excited because, obviously... the next two episodes in the album are the Bassett Wedding. And obviously, he's not going to be in the Bassett Wedding. Unless,
he's getting dirt on Wellington.
Yeah.
He's going to bring down that whole corporate empire.
Penny and Wooten, and Wellington's like, over my dead body, you will. And so... Yeah, I don't think he's gonna turn out to be like Devin's brother or something like that, who's like, actually, I wanted you to be with them. And Emily and Matthew will show up and be like, how many siblings does this guy have?
So this was already immensely interesting once we're like, okay, Morrie was the one doing it. Yeah. But the thing became even 10 times more interesting than that once he finally revealed why he did all of this. Because it wasn't just to send a message to Matthew and Emily. When Susie's like, why would someone do this? She's like, why would no one take anything out of the lockers? And he's like, a lot of things can be learned by examining someone's possessions. And I was like, secrets. People's secrets. He's Moriarty. We were totally right. He's building his web of blackmail and connections.
It's also like Irene Adler.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means him and Emily are
he's become a shadow broker, like in Mass Effect. He's opened the lockers. He's got everyone's dirt, all of their blackmail, learned all the secrets. Once he has what he needs, gives the key to Dion, tosses some clues around, gets Dion caught, little blackmail to make sure Dion doesn't protest, which he got out of Dion's locker. And now Morrie can begin to spin his web. And
Dion even said that he was being blackmailed, but then he, stopped, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? He's
now begun to build his web of strings to pull an Odyssey, one of them which, of course, is Emily and that fiddle that he can play. I can't believe all of our neurotic paranoia was actually right for once. It's incredible. Maybe this kid really is Blackguard's immortality program for the Imagination Station come incarnate.
When I was listening to the episode, I was like, this is Blackguard's spawn, and I was like, holy crap, Blackguard reincarnated. This is where he ended up.
And then Suzu's like, come on, Morrie, I don't want things to go awry again.
And you're like, again, hold up, again.
So she knows about Morrie.
She knows that he's a trouble child.
But they just kind of got this whatever going on that they're okay with it.
Yeah, maybe he's blackmailing her.
So there's a history behind this, just like we thought, and it's like, oh, and just like we said about the elections, they're like, he has this uncanny ability at winning every election that he manages for. We're like, oh, surely he must be some kind of like...
He's like surprisingly charismatic to everyone but the listeners, basically. So...
This was so much better than I hoped for. This was an excellent episode.
This episode is amazing.
It's like into the future now, we set up so much stuff for future seasons of
we have to just like turn the camera a little bit more so you can see like the bulletin board with like red wires all over it. It's like, what does it mean?
All my colored pins, and I can't believe it's Moriarty.
I'm
surprised I put that together, because honestly.
Not only we've been getting all these good arcs, and it's so nice, and it's actually really nice to have an arc with the kids, because we've been doing an arc with the adults with Penny and Wooten, and so it's like, hey, the adults get an arc, now the kids get one, and it's gonna be in multiple albums, which is really sweet. I'm hoping we get at least like 2 or 3 more episodes of this, because this is really good. I just want like...
I hope this just becomes like a long-term rivalry kind of thing.
Yeah, I hope that it's we get like at least 1 or 2.
Oh, before they figure out it's Morrie, you mean?
Yeah, like a couple more episodes that Morrie's in, and he just like causes like some low level
mayhem,
chaos, and and then they don't figure out it's him, and then like the next episode they do figure out it's him.
He starts offering people Jolly Ranchers. They're smeared into a smile.
There we put Jolly Cherry. And then he clones himself with some alien DNA mix.
Wanna know how I got these cuts on my face?
So,
I was trying to eat paper. I got a bunch of paper cuts.
It'll heal in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But
my father, he took a sheet of A4.
My father comes up to my mother. He was a drinker, you see. Drank likes to tea.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Well, it works because Batman and Sherlock are supposed to be like the greatest detectives.
That's why I was saying, because you were like the Joker, and I'm like, no, wrong thing.
And anyway, so I'm hoping that like they figure out that it's more in like, say 3 episodes from now. And
it feels appropriate. Yeah. You can't have them clueless for too long, or that will become annoying.
I don't want it to be the next episode, because that will feel like so much potential lost.
Yeah, but if it's too long, then it'll get annoying. Like, come on, guys, figure it out.
Yeah. But after that, I hope we can still have some episodes where, like, Emily knows she's working against him. But it's like, we can't throw this kid in jail because he's a kid and he hasn't done anything illegal. So...
Or they just can't prove it.
It's not like an arc with the adults where it's like, oh, we're up against, like, Blackguard or something like that. We catch him, we throw him in jail.
I mean, admittedly, it's the same thing with Blackguard, too. It's like, we don't have any proof. Yeah. We can't throw him in jail.
But with Morrie, it's like... It would continue for a while, the rivalry, and it'd just be really nice. It'd be a lot of fun. And I'm so excited. There's so much potential. Super excited.
There's so much potential.
And now I'm even more excited that you said the Moriarty thing, because this is going to be so much fun.
There's so much potential.
I've never been so excited for Jones and Parker mysteries than I am now.
I don't think anyone has more than we are now.
I used to like them, then you and Austin ruined them for me.
So,
what was the moral in this episode? It was like...
Don't suspect people who are... I don't know.
Don't. I thought Chris in this episode was gonna be a lot more like, hey, sometimes these things happen. We just gotta hope things work out or something like that. And I was thinking, please don't do that. And Chris is like, I don't know what's going on either, so keep on listening, I guess. And I was like, okay. So that was pretty great.
I'm gonna give this episode...
I like when Chris is just like, I don't know, because I'm like, yeah, Chris doesn't know, because they won't let you read the scripts in advance, probably. So...
Just because of the lesson, I guess I should probably give it 4.9 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 4.8 out of 5 because it was like super good.
It
Oh,
was
I'm so
really
excited.
good, very
I'm so
well written.
Excited.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Baseball Cap Hero was great.
Yeah,
Don't get me
it
wrong,
was.
but I think this is the new best Jones and Parker mystery.
I do too.
This was so good.
Right before we started this, I was like, so
and this
is,
launched
to
into an arc
Devin,
finally.
I was like,
finally.
So is this your favorite Jones and Parker mysteries? Like, I don't know, Baseball Cap Hero, man. And I was like, dude, the ending. And Devin's like, okay, is this one?
Yeah.
So, that episode blew my mind.
I was like, should I do it? I'm like, we've done it enough, I think. And then immediately after you did it again.
Yeah. You can't do it enough times. Go watch The Dark Knight. I really like Heath Ledger.
Yeah, so those are our ratings, right? That's everything we got for now. So, turn you over to future Devin and Victoria to wrap this up. Tell you what we're doing next time. So, yeah.
Bye.
And there we go. Those were sure 2 episodes that we talked about.
I was right about Morrey. I was so right.
Yeah, it's almost like you'd heard that episode in advance.
I already had those predictions.
Yeah, I know, but they were more vehement.
They were very vehement.
By the fact that you heard it.
Slightly more vehement. They were there already.
That's why we don't listen to episodes.
They were there already. I already had those predictions already. I can listen to album 62 in one go. Fight me.
I will. You're
Just
not
like
doing
fucking
that.
Morrey.
You are not doing that.
First we have Batman versus Superman, then we have Buck versus Morrey, now we have Devin versus Victoria.
Versus.
Leave in the comments who you think would win in a fight. I can tell you that I would, from personal experience. When we were younger, I kicked you in the head.
So we'll go out in the parking lot right now.
Yeah.
I've fallen all over the ice.
Deal. Fight me.
Yeah, I know how well you are on ice.
That's true.
So...
Very on ice.
Next time... That's what I was thinking. Next time, what are we talking about, Victoria?
OAC episode...
Nope.
Finale?
Yep.
The wedding! Wellington! Oh, spoilers, Wellington's gonna...
We already talked, I think, about how he was going to be there. But...
Okay, yeah. Wellington's gonna be in the next episode! It's
Surprise!
so beautiful!
I know you guys probably haven't heard it yet, given this has been out for only 6 months.
I'm the #1 Wellington fan. If you think otherwise, then you're free to fight me in the parking lot, too. Do you agree that I'm the #1 Wellington fan?
It seems quite probable at this point, to be honest.
Who else do you think would be a huge Wellington fan? Who else likes Wellington other than me?
Wooten does.
I will challenge Wooten for that position.
Okay. Next time, we're talking about the wedding, and then what? Wedding parts 1 and 2,
and then we're going to do the album 61 review, and then we're going to do the predictions in a different episode, right?
Correct. It's like 4 episodes later.
Yeah.
Because then after that, we have to do the OAC 2017 review, and then immediately have to do the 2016 review, immediately have to do the predictions after that, so we can't do the album 62 predictions till the episode after that.
Yeah, we get to listen to Unteck the Halls.
Okay, so until next time, thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. I've been Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
And I'm full of dread and regret.
And, yeah. Goodbye.